Good morning, everyone. I am Cindy Reyes from EdFed. I am the Financial Education Manager, and I'd like to welcome all of you to another EdFed Academy webinar. Today's webinar is on home buying. If you don't know, EdFed Academy is EdFed's financial education platform where we offer webinars and workshops on various topics in efforts really to provide financial education to the community and to the members, and also provide some solutions to our members. We are thrilled to bring you today's webinar as we know that the home buying process can be an overwhelming one, right? For many of us. I'd like to take this time to introduce our two presenters for today. I have Ms. Dania Nunez, who is our home loans sales manager at EdFed. Dania has over about 30 years, in the mortgage industry. She began her career as a loan officer, has worked as a wholesale lender and a mortgage branch manager. I'd also like to introduce a special guest speaker today, Mr. Brian McCarthy, a real estate professional who has been working in South Florida since 2008. Prior to working as a real estate agent, he was a commercial real estate attorney for 15 years. He currently works with Grandiose Real Estate in Fort Lauderdale, and I want to welcome both of you. I also want to let you guys know that today at the end of our presentation, we will have a unique opportunity to speak with some experts with a wealth of knowledge. So at the end of the webinar, we're going to have an interactive Q&A for all of you that we are calling Meet the Experts, where you can ask questions to both Dania and Brian, as well as to other professionals from our EdFed team. But before we begin, please note that all the participants have been muted. And so please hold your questions for the end of our session at the Meet the Experts section. You can use your Q&A feature located at the bottom of your Zoom screen and post them there, and we'll get to them as soon as we're ready with the Meet the Experts, okay? So again, we are super excited to bring you today's webinar, as we know that the home buying process can be an overwhelming one, right? But really, home ownership brings you so many emotions. It really is rewarding to own your own home, an exciting time, right? To get that dream home, super gratifying and definitely comforting to have your space, right? To have your own property. But buying a home, even though it is an exciting time, it can come with many stresses, right? It can definitely be confusing, intimidating, overwhelming, and frustrating. Really, all of these emotions, come, and it's normal, right? So we're hoping to take the confusion out of that process, make it much less intimidating, give you guys some tools, some to-do lists, some notes, because again, it can seem overwhelming. And so when you're prepared, we're definitely going to ease that process for you. And then today, I do want to go over our agenda. We are going to cover some workshop goals. We're going to review with Dania the 10 steps to buying your home, getting started, and how to apply, for that home loan. And then at the end, we're going to meet with the rest of the experts in our Meet the Experts Q&A session. I'm going to now pass it over to Dania. Welcome, Dania. Thank you so much for being with us today. And we're super excited to hear from you and Brian. Dania?
Yep. Good morning, everyone. Sorry about that. So we're going to start off with some of our goals of this workshop. So what do we want to accomplish, or what do we want to help you through this workshop? So we want to provide important information on how to qualify for a mortgage and start shopping for your dream home. We want to make sure that you're informed. We want to help you through this financial decision. And we definitely want to reduce the stress during your home buying process. Now, we completely understand that home buying is a process, and it's not something that you're going to be prepared or ready overnight. So it can take, and we've seen it many a times, it can take up to several months for you to find that home that you're looking to purchase. So today we're going to review the 10 steps, and we're going to start one by one. We're going to start with our first step, which is our home buying pre-work. We're going to take you all the steps up, all the way to your move-in day, where you're going to be ready to get those keys to your new home and move into the property. So we'll start with the first step of the home buying pre-work. So what is some of the pre-work you want to do before you start purchasing the home or looking for a home? You want to know what your credit score is. What are your existing assets? What is your available down payment? Will all be taken into consideration by the lender when approving you for a mortgage. Now, this is not only going to save you time and have you prepared for completing that pre-work, but you want to make sure that you have this information before you contact this lender. And what is some of this information that we want you to look for? So the first thing is we want to make sure you know what's on your credit report. Check your credit report. This is going to give you an understanding of what's on the credit. You want to make sure, and we certainly understand that many borrowers already are using a credit monitoring service, for example, Credit Karma, or a service that is provided to you by your current financial institution or a credit card that you may have. So what we've provided here is also another tool. You have annualcreditreport.com that you can log into, and you can do this once a year to get a free copy of your credit report. You also want to determine what funds you have available for the down payment. Where are these funds coming from? Are they already in your checking or savings account? And then lastly, you also want to know, what is your budget? Calculate your budget. How much can you pay? What's a comfortable monthly payment for you? Now, step 2 is you want to choose a lender. So what is a good lender? So a good lender is going to guide you through this loan application process and your closing process. The lender is going to help you compare different loan programs so that you can choose the right one for you. They're going to work with you to determine a home purchase price that you can afford. And you want it to be transparent, or you want that lender to be transparent about any closing cost and out-of-pocket expenses that you may incur throughout this loan process. So the lender you want to look for is, you want the lender to be looking out for your interest, your best interest, not just what's the biggest loan that the lender can qualify you for. So you want the lender to be a partner throughout this process. You want to guide from beginning to end of this application process. Now, part of step 2 is also your mortgage loan options. What type of mortgage products you choose will determine your loan payment, your closing cost, and the amount of cash you're going to need for closing. So what are some of the loan options you have available? So we start off with, what is a fixed rate option? Your fixed rate loans, if this is the option you want to choose, these are loans that the payment is fixed for a given term of 10, 15, or 20 years, 10, 15, 20, or 30 years, meaning that your payment of principal and interest is going to be fixed for that amount or for that term you choose. You also have the option of adjustable rate mortgages. Now, this option has been quite popular in the past couple of months, let's say, because interest rates, we certainly know, have been quite high. And the advantage of this adjustable rate mortgage is you have a lower fixed rate for a term, or excuse me, you have a fixed rate for a fixed period of time, for example, 5 years, and then the remaining of the loan is an adjustable rate. We also have the option of jumbo mortgages. There are jumbo mortgages available for those borrowers that are looking for loans over a certain amount. This year, that amount is $766,550. EdFed does also offer jumbo loans. So as you can see, there are different loan options depending on what your needs are. Part of this step number 2 is also, what are some of the mortgage fees? Now, all mortgages have required fees that will be necessary to finalize your loan. So we'll review a little bit what some of those fees are. There are some lender fees like appraisal fee, rate lock, processing, credit report, flood determination, origination, and discount fees. Now, most of these fees that I've just mentioned are fairly standard in the home buying process. Some of those fees you can shop for as a buyer, for example, the title agent fee. That includes title insurance, settlement fee, and surveys. So fees like an origination fee that I mentioned before is a fee that a borrower pays the lender for compensation for the mortgage loan for getting them the best rate that they can possibly get. And then discount fee is a fee that you pay to lower your rate. So as you can see, these fees are very different and may or may not apply to your particular loan. Either one fee or both of those fees being origination or discount. And again, these are just some of the examples of the fees that can vary depending on your lender. Part of that also step 2 process is your down payment consideration. What is the down payment and how is it going to impact both your buying power and your monthly payment for your new loan? Of course, the more money you put down dictates the lower monthly payment. For example, Putting 20% down versus 10% is going to avoid having you pay PMI, making your monthly payments lower. So what is PMI? So PMI is an abbreviation for private mortgage insurance. And this is an insurance that the lender has that insures the lender against any loss caused by borrowers failing to make the loan payments. This is an additional premium that is added to your mortgage payment. Now, also as a first-time home buyer, you have the opportunity that you may be able to qualify for a lower rate or a lower down payment with as little as 3% down payment. Now, step 3 is you want to get pre-qualified. So the pre-qualification process is you'll want to calculate and confirm the following to obtain that pre-qualification process. So these are things you want to have on hand or have available to your lender before you go in to the pre-qualification. Some of those things are, what is your credit score? What are all your monthly debts? So these debts include credit cards, car loans, personal loans, anything like that. What is your gross income, not only for yourself, but for all the applicants? If it's just yourself applying, then you only want to worry about your income. If it's yourself and someone else, what is the combined income? So income for all applicants. What type of property do you plan to purchase? Is it a single family home? Is it a condo? Is it a townhome? Keeping in mind, a lot of the condos and townhomes have HOA fees. So this is an additional monthly payment that you need to calculate. Then what is your down payment and budget? Now, these are just some of the items that we're going to be speaking through, or you're going to talk to when you speak with your mortgage professional to get qualified. Now, most realtors may have already asked you or will ask you to be pre-qualified before showing you a home. Now, the next step, or step number 4, is choosing your realtor. So what do you want to look for when you're choosing your realtor or the realtor that you are going to be working with? You want somebody who is experienced with the property type and desired geographic and neighborhood that you are looking for. You want somebody who has personal rapport with you. You want to choose somebody who's on your same page, same, they know what you're looking for and they understand that they get you. You want somebody with experience, whether it be an FHA loan that you're looking for or a VA loan, excuse me. So to talk a little bit more about choosing the realtor, for the next couple of slides, I'd like to introduce Brian McCarthy, and he's a realtor in the South Florida market, and he's going to cover the next couple of steps for us to tell you a little bit about how the realtors is going to help you through this process. So Brian?
Thank you, Dania. Yes, it's very important that you choose the right realtor to help you purchase your home, whether it's your first time or you're purchasing a second home or a vacation home. You really want someone who knows the area and can help you, guide you through the whole process. Because everybody remembers a couple of years ago through COVID, it was a crazy time to try to buy property in Florida, especially South Florida. And a lot of people wanted to buy into that market. And there were multiple offers on properties, and people would go to open houses and they would stand in line. And thank God we don't have that. That's not what's happening now. So although if we take a look at the South Florida market right now, there's a little bit more inventory to choose from. The houses are staying a little bit longer on the days on the market is increasing, so they're staying a little bit longer. So that means you have more choices when you're looking for that first home, or when you're selling and buying another home. I've also found that in the last 6 months or so that there's more motivated sellers in the market. So as a couple of years ago, where you had to bid the list price or higher, you have more chances to negotiate the price as well as some of the other terms. There will be some sellers holding firm on prices, and especially if they have, the all redone house in a really good neighborhood, so they have a product everybody wants, they may be able to stand firm on their prices. But some of the other sellers, they're going to have to negotiate because their house is staying on the market a little bit longer. Now, there has been some issues with condos over the last year. It's still a good investment. the prices are softening a little bit because of the issues they've had to deal with, increased insurance prices, the requirements to get up to full reserves, and also the requirements to bring the buildings up to code and full maintenance. You know, that's put the condo market in a little bit of the prices are definitely softening because there are more options right now. But that's why you need an experienced realtor, someone who knows if you're going to buy a condo, someone who knows the condo market, knows the different condo buildings, knows what's happening in each building, because what's happening in each building is different. So I encourage you to find the right realtor with the right amount of experience to really help you through this whole situation. And then again, everybody knows location. There's some locations, some areas in South Florida that still remain very competitive. So again, it all goes down to, if it's your first time home, you're buying your first time home, or you're buying a second or vacation home, you really do need that experienced realtor in that area to help guide you through, as well as, you know, the mortgage professional. Now, when you're searching for your home, the house hunting stage can be fun and exciting, but it's also important to keep your priorities in mind when evaluating potential homes. Now, everybody has a wish list of what they want to do, what features they want in a home. A lot of people don't want to do a lot of upgrades, but if you're a little bit more flexible in those areas, you may have more choices when you're looking and buying a home. Be open to look at many homes before you pick that one, and obviously the location and neighborhood is very important. What features and finishes that you want, but everybody knows if the house, more finishes and features in the house, more redundant is, the more buyers are going to probably be bidding on that house. So you know, you can be a little bit flexible on that to get especially for your first home. Also, consider space requirements, how many bedrooms, how large the home is, how do you want to expand your family in the future. So maybe if you can afford a little bit bigger home, and you know you're going to expand, you're going to need that space in the future, that now it might be the time to look for that, because you'll definitely have more options. Also, the commute time, yes, that's very important. You don't want to buy a home where you're commuting for over an hour, hour and a half. That would be very difficult. So again, in this market, you have more options than you did 2 years ago, and I encourage you to take a look in those areas you didn't thought you could afford before. And also, again, this is why we turn to a realtor with experience. You want to buy a house that has the opportunity for growth. Is it that new area, that new and up and coming area that you may not know about, but they know because they worked in that area? That's where you really look to the realtor to provide you guidance. Step 5. So after you've spent those couple of months out there with the realtor, looking at all these homes, and you finally find one that you really like, you're going to want to make that offer. So again, an experienced realtor will guide you through the offer process, what terms you want to offer, what terms you can be very competitive on, what terms are going to help you get that house. So once you submit your offer, like I said, the sellers are negotiating, but expect the seller to counter, and expect there to be negotiations. But like I said, this time more than any is a time to try to negotiate price and other terms as well. And you'd be surprised some of the things you can negotiate that you couldn't have not negotiated 2 years ago. The next step is so you do have a deposit requirement for your loan, but you also have an earnest money requirement in the contract, and that's to hold the house for the time that you're going to close on the loan. I start out with $5,000 as an earnest money deposit. Some sellers want 10. Sometimes they can go a little bit higher. but depends on the type of loan you're going to do. But usually between $5,000 and $10,000. Also, you're working with your lender, determine the closing date. It's very important. Your lender's going to take 30 to 45 days to close. You have to include that in your offer, because later on you may not have the flexibility to change that closing date if you need to. And so it's very important to figure out from the beginning in the offer when you're going to close. And again, that's where you rely on an experienced realtor to help you through that process. Finally, like I said, this time, sellers want to sell their home, and they also may be open to seller contributions where they contribute to your prepaids and closing costs. So that's a $1-to-$1 exchange. So if, say, your closing costs are $10,000, you can get a seller to contribute up to that amount to help you with the closing. And especially if you're looking at a home that may have a little bit more updates than you would like, if you ask for seller contributions, you could use the money offset with the seller contributions to make those upgrades in your home. Finally, once you get under contract, the next step is to do your inspections. And under Florida contracts, we have an as-is inspection period. And for whatever that inspection period is, you can get out for any reason. The average inspection period is usually 7 to 10 days. It can go up to 15 days, depending on what issues you have to address. But this is the time where you really need an experienced agent to help you through. They're going to recommend experienced and licensed home inspector to help you. And you may be required to also get additional inspectors if there's issues with the roof, or if they're determined that there may be termites, you may need pest control inspections. And also during this period, you want to look at if you have an HOA or any type of association that is in control of the area. You want to make sure you've done your due diligence with your HOA and reviewed all your rules and regulations to make sure there's no surprises when you move into the house, because maybe you own a pickup truck and that HOA won't let you park your pickup truck in the driveway. It has to be in the garage. So, little things like that. And the HOA also does control the type pet restrictions, how many pets you can have in your house, and the size of the pet. And you want to do your due diligence with your HOA to make sure you understand all the restrictions and that you're comfortable with them. So I think Dana, you're going to go next. Finalize.
Okay, so we're down to step number 7. So step number 7 is where you're going to finalize that loan application. So you're done with your inspections, you've got your contract, this is the home you want. So you're going to finalize your loan application. Now, throughout this process, you're going to be in communication with your lender. So at this point, the lender may want to, as proceeding with the application for your home purchase, the lender may require you to verify, again, the credit report, whether, it depends on how long the credit report was pulled, or the last time the credit report was pulled by the lender. They want to verify what your current credit score is. We want to verify what your 2 years, that you have 2 years of employment, verification of income, proof of assets, and down payment. Now, the verification of employment, we want to look for at least 2 years. Now, if you're a W-2 employee, it's fairly easy, pay stub, W-2. Now, if you are self-employed, the lender's going to ask for a little bit more. You're going to provide your last 2 years of personal and business tax returns. And when it comes to any assets or the down payment, you're going to have to show proof that you have that money to bring to closing. And they're going to be asking for your last 2 months of bank statements, showing that you have those funds to go into closing for that down payment. Okay, so our next step is step number 8, where you've got the application, you're preparing to move, you're working with your lender, and step number 8 is you get ready to move into the home. So here's just a short list of some of the items that you can track. And again, you want to create your own list to be prepared for your move-in date. Now, some of these items are, for example, obtain any or pay in full any insurance that you needed to purchase, any homeowners insurance, any HO6 policies for condos. You want to schedule your locks to be changed. You want to schedule your mail to be forwarded, whether it be to the new address or to a PO box in the meantime. You want to schedule the utilities, the water, and the movers. Those are very important things you want to have done prior to your closing date. You want to investigate any home warranties that may be available. And lastly, you want to schedule your final walkthrough with your realtor to make sure nothing has changed from when you originally went to see or visit that home. So again, this is just a short list of some of the items. You want to create your own things, your own list, and add some of these items to there to be prepared for your next step, which is step number 9. You're prepared for your closing. Now, at this point, if you have an HOA, as we mentioned earlier, you want to make sure that you are already approved. Your HOA approval must be finalized. So some HOAs require an approval before moving in. So you want to make sure if there's one required at this step, you've already done this. You want to obtain any wire instructions for funds to close. Now, these wire instructions are going to come from the title company, and they're going to provide that to you as the buyer prior to the closing. You want to make sure you have a valid or current ID before closing. Now, this is not only for you, but this is for anyone who may be on this loan or on the title of the property prior to moving to closing. So these are just some of the couple of things that you want to prepare yourself prior to closing. And then our next step and last step is step number 10, your move-in day. Congratulations. You're back, you're in your new home, and you're ready to move in. Now, why you should choose EdFed. EdFed is going to provide you personalized service. We're going to assist you through this entire process. As we mentioned earlier, we understand it could be stressful. We understand it can be confusing. We want to be here to guide you through this mortgage application and closing process. We are a nonprofit organization. We are a trusted and existing financial institution that has been around since 1935. We have competitive interest rates and closing costs that are out there. Now, next, the last one is EdFed pays you back. You can receive up to $1,000 cash back towards your closing cost. And then how are you going to apply? There's several different ways, and we want to make sure it's easy, and this is a way that you want to apply and feel comfortable. So when you're ready to apply, you can apply online, and I've listed the website here, edfed.org/loans/mortgages. You can call directly our mortgage department at 305-270-5256, or you can come in person to our home loans department located in the EdFed Kendall office.
Thank you so much, David and Brian, Dania and Brian. We are super thankful for all the wonderful information that you shared. Now we're going to have some time for our Meet the Experts session, but I do want to go ahead and introduce some other EdFed experts that we have today. We have Mr. Michael Aubrey, who is our Senior Vice President of Lending. We also have Ms. Maylin Carbajales, the Director of Home Loans. And so we're going to have some time for a Q&A session. I do see some questions populating now, and I'm going to get those for our speakers. Just to reiterate, we will be sharing this presentation later on our YouTube channel. So here's the first question from one of the members. So for an adjustable rate, is there a cap rate?
Yes, there is. So there are caps. There's a yearly cap, and there's a lifetime cap for adjustable loans. So just because you're thinking, oh, I'm going to start with a, let's say 4.95 interest rate, it's going to, what happens if the rates just continue to skyrocket? Am I going to be at 18%? No, we do have caps. Again, different programs have different caps, whether they be yearly or they be lifetime caps, but there are. So we'd love to speak to you. So if you have any questions or if you want to discuss your particular situation, please feel free to give us a call and we can further discuss those.
Great. I had a question from one of the members asking about a closing date, wondering if that was the final step in owning the home, but we have gone now through all of the steps. And so you saw there that doing that closing is, and all the information that you need to have ready. And again, we're going to go ahead and share this presentation so all of you will have access to it. Let's see here if I have another question. Can we explain a co-signer process, please, if they have a co-signer for their loan?
So, if you want, I don't know if you want to add a little bit more detail. Is it because, so two of you are applying. When two individuals are applying for a loan, we take the worst of the two credits for the two individuals. And I think that's where your question is coming from. So if it's two people, we take both of your incomes into consideration, both of your credits into consideration, debts as well. So when there's two individuals, both things are taken into consideration. But I think your question is more related to credit. If you want to just add a little note to that, if it's related to credit, if it's two individuals, we take the worst of the two scores, or the worst of the two middle scores from those two individuals. So I think that's your question.
Okay.
And let me elaborate a little more, Dania, on that. It depends if you need a cosigner or not. Is that because your income might be insufficient that it would take both incomes to go ahead and do it? You know, each scenario is a different scenario. I would encourage you to speak to a home loans representative about your particular situation, and they'll be able to help guide you to see if a cosigner is even needed. The individual may be able to qualify on their own. Again, we look at each case on a case-by-case scenario. Hopefully that answers what you're looking for.
Michael, since we talked about credit, I have a question about what credit reporting agency do we use to pull credit when applying for a mortgage? Is there a minimum score that is needed?
Well, for Fannie Mae, it's 620, and we do what's called a tri-merge. So we pull from the three major credit bureaus of Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, and they blend those into what's called a tri-merge. And as Dania mentioned, Fannie takes the lower of the two scores if it's a joint application, or the middle score if it is an individual application. And then that helps to determine your rate. That's all through a process through Fannie Mae called Desktop Underwriter, and it's all based on fair lending and a completed application. So again, we can advise you of this through the pre-qualification process and take an application to see where you're at, and then give you an idea of exact pricing based on your needs that you're looking for.
Thank you. I have a question here, and I think this might be for our realtor. It says, what costs can your rep or team negotiate and pass off to the seller? So I guess we're representing the seller in this situation?
Sure. So what costs you can right now we can negotiate almost anything we want to. You know, because there definitely is more inventory out there, and the sellers are more negotiable now. So there are requirements based on your loan, how much down payment you've put down, how much you can get the seller to contribute. That's a more important issue. But you can have, within those requirements of those loans, you can negotiate, you can have the seller, you can negotiate and have the seller pay certain closing costs, certain prepaid costs that you have, certain title costs. In Broward and Miami-Dade, the buyer and the seller like sort of split the title costs, but everything is negotiable. So again, that comes to you're getting a realtor that's experienced, that has a lot of experience, not only in the market, but negotiating the contracts. They know what items they can negotiate. And like I said, you pick an experienced realtor and you'll be happy with the results. But yeah, at this time, the market is such that you can negotiate some of these costs.
Thank you, Brian. I see a question here from a member that asks about additional costs. What additional costs can we expect with homeownership? In terms of the down payment and the loan process, we covered most of the costs, I guess, with homeownership in general, right? If you're going to be maintaining your home or upgrading your home. But I think that there's, depending on what type of home you purchase as well, I think those costs that really depend there. So if you guys want to add more questions to there, so we can clarify.
Yeah, a lot of people, we spoke about this on our podcast on the community voice before. There are a lot of other costs that are in addition in normal home ownership. A lot of people think that rent, I can buy a home, it's cheaper because it's cheaper than my rent, and just look at the payment. But as Dania mentioned during the presentation, you have things such as monthly homeowner association fees or condo association fees, your taxes and insurance, that's a given, but you're going to have your power bill, your water bill, you're going to have a cable bill. You might have gas to your home. There's an extra expense. Then you have to plan for repairs. There's upkeep and maintenance on a home. If your association doesn't cover your lawn, you may want a landscaper. You have lawn expense. If you have a pool, you might not want to do your pool, especially with the last couple of weekends with a heat index of 115. Just have your pool boy do it, but that's going to run you a little bit extra money as well. So there's all types of additional expenses that could occur, and you need to plan for that. When you meet with your home loans representative, we're happy to discuss that with you. And when you work with your realtor, ask the realtor, or especially if you're serious on a home, what has been the average power bill, water bill? Usually sellers will be happy to share that.
That's a really great tip, Michael. I think that's a fantastic tip because many of us might be going from a smaller home, an apartment, into a home. And again, it's a big change in expenses. So that's something to consider. I do have a question from a member that says, does EdFed have a list or directory of properties that they have for sale on our website? So we don't have that on our website. But if you work with a realtor, I'm sure the realtor can have that information for you. They can share the neighborhoods. And again, that goes with those slides that we reviewed with Brian about neighborhoods and things like that. And then they can kind of walk you through with what's available in your area. I have a question from a member. What if I have 4 years plus work history in a previous job, but I'm currently have a new job and only have been there for 7 months? Does the work history for my previous position or previous job matter? Does it still matter? Like, is it relevant?
It's all taken in and giving you credit for that. So you would have a 4-year history of, and we look at the income, we average it out for 2 years. So not a problem at all. We encourage you to apply.
Amazing. So I have another question. They're asking, can I refinance if my loan is not with you? Can somebody come to us if they have an existing loan with somebody else for a refi?
Absolutely. And we do those all day long. Look at Dania smiling.
I know.
Yes, we love it. Whether it be an auto loan, we refinance people all day long through our swap and drop program on auto and the cash back of 100. We're happy to refinance your home and get that closing credit as well that Dania mentioned, up to $1,000, depending on the size of your loan. So bring it to us. We have been doing a lot of refinances and have helped many, many members. This department has been in existence 13 years, and we've helped thousands of homeowners and members with homes, and we're there for you. So reach out to us and we'll find a program that fits your needs, and we'll present options to you, and you pick the option that's most comfortable, and we'll answer all your questions.
Thank you. So here I have a question from a member asking about applying for a USDA single family loan.
Currently, we don't offer that. We are looking at some additional expanded programs for later this year and into early next year, but currently we are not tied in with USDA.
Okay. Another question for the panel. If you get a down payment rate of 3%, do you still have to pay for the mortgage insurance?
Yes.
Yes.
As anything under, so if you're financing 80% or over 80%, you do need to pay PMI or mortgage insurance.
Okay.
And one thing you can do is, if you get into a home today because you have little down payment with values that are increasing, and as Brian mentioned earlier, look for as it is a good investment. Real estate has traditionally been a solid investment, and appreciation exists. Once you're in the home a couple of years, 2 things will happen. Your income will increase and your home value will increase. You can always look to refinance and then remove the private mortgage insurance at that time. Okay.
Great. I have a question here about our own home loans reps. Do we have Spanish speaking home loan representatives available?
We do.
Which we do. And then I have, does EdFed assist with home loans outside of Florida?
Not at this
No,
time.
we can't. Yeah,
Only
but what we
Florida.
can do is if you own a property in Florida and you're buying out of state and you want to go ahead and use the property in Florida to buy out of state, we have a lot of retirees that leave the state but will use their home because it's paid for here. They'll do a refinance cash out, buy the house cash out of state, and then when they sell their home, the loan pays off here. So there are ways to do it, but if we're financing the home out of state, we currently don't offer any programs for out of state.
Thank you. So I have a few more questions about the home buyer programs. It says, how can I find out about first-time home buyer programs or any other kind of programs that exist out there?
Well, we have our Fannie Mae products. You can talk to our home loans representative, Dania, and our sales team, Fannie Mae. We go 3%, 5% down. We are expanding some programs with the Federal Home Loan Bank that we plan to implement the fourth quarter and the first quarter of next year that will specifically address down payment assistance.
Okay. So I have another question here. This is probably for Brian. I'm looking for a home that is also handicap accessible. Are these homes easy to find or difficult?
That's a hard question. It's not something that I can search on in MLS, so it'll probably be a little bit difficult. But you know, if we look for a single family home with one level, would most likely qualify, and it could probably be easily modified. And again, in this market, you may be able to request those changes to be made by the seller and have it ready for you when you move in. So that's something we could explore. It'll take a little bit of time, but it can be done.
Okay. A few more questions that I found on credit score, which we covered. I have another question from a member. It says, should I HELOC my parents' house to buy my own house rather than getting a mortgage? Again, super personal. It depends. I think you would talk to a home loans representative to see what the situation is. But do you have any advice on something like that?
Well, the good thing is you have an option. So I would strongly suggest you give us a call. Again, this is very individual scenario situation for you. So I'd invite you to give us a call at the phone number I provided. We can give you a little bit more detail and give you the options. You know, look at the difference between if you're taking out a HELOC in your existing home, what's that rate? What's your payment? And then as opposed to a purchase transaction. So there are definite options out there, and I'd invite you to give us a call and we'd be more than happy to review that with you.
Thank you. I do see some questions here about being a first-time home buyer. Does EdFed have any specific instructions that people should follow that are different from somebody who is not a first-time home buyer?
I think you just need to get with our home loans representative and talk to them, and that's how the dialogue starts. Come in and ask questions, and Dania went through some of this as far as understanding your credit score, your income, know where you're at. We've helped many members that today were not in a financial position to actually buy the home, but they had to have a starting point, and we worked with them and helped them to achieve their goals over a set period of time. But that's the best thing to do, is we're there to answer your questions and help guide you through the process.
Thank you, Michael. I also do want to mention GreenPath for all of our members. We work with GreenPath, which is a company that does counseling. They have a first-time home buyer program. It's greenpath.com. Again, this is something that we offer for our members. And you can go ahead online and look at the different modules that they have. They have a ton of resources, and we work with them for first-time home buyers, amongst other things. I have here, do we need an appointment to speak with home loans, or can we walk in anytime?
You can walk in at any time to our home loan department, which is located in our Kendall branch. As if you want to go out to a particular EdFed branch, we do have designated loan officers on particular days. So I would, if it's a branch that you'd like to go to, for example, our Palmetto Bay or our Homestead branch, we do have, again, designated days that a loan officer is there. But you will have someone always available at our Kendall branch. You can give us a call. You can simply walk in to the home loan department in Kendall.
Thank you. Is EdFed a part of our Hometown Heroes loan program?
Currently,
that's part of that. Yeah, that's part of that Federal Home Loan Bank program that we are looking into and plan to execute and implement the fourth quarter of this year.
Okay, thank you. I have a member here that asks, are senior condos 55 and over available with 3% down payments? And what other fees are associated with buying a condo? I would say maybe this one is for Brian.
Well, for a condo to qualify for a low down payment like that for 3%, it would have to be Fannie Mae approved with full reserves. So that not every condo is Fannie Mae approved with full reserves. And there also be other requirements that all the insurances have to be in place. There will be no litigation, but you can. I just recently helped someone buy in a 55 and older community, 2-bedroom, 2-bath house in Margate in Broward County, and I found the building because of, it's Fannie Mae approved, and I had gone through all the financials before, but that's going to take a while to do. That's not something you can just do. That's a lot of research, but it can be done. Yes.
Okay, thank you. I do have another question about employment history that we take into consideration since we're asking for 2 years. The member wants to know, do we need to be employed at the same company for the 2 years before starting the process? But I think you guys already answered it, that we do take into
Yeah,
consideration
no, we
previous.
take into consideration the entire employment, and we average the income out for 2 years. And if it's W-2 income, it's easy to calculate. If it's self-employed, we look at 2 years tax returns. But yeah, you don't have to be on your position in your job 2 years at your present employer in order to apply.
Thank you. So here's another question for you all. Are there any additional benefits of an FHA first-time homebuyer loan versus a conventional loan if we anticipate making a 20% down payment?
I don't think so. 20% is normally what is standard in the industry for down payment, so that it wouldn't be, you can be a first-time home buyer with 20% down. But our rates are very competitive, and we have a program that fits everyone. What you will avoid is the private mortgage insurance that Dania had mentioned earlier, which can save you a few $100s a month in your monthly payment.
Okay, great.
I'm going to add a little bit into that question. The difference between FHA loan and conventional has a lot to do also with the interest rate that the program may offer. You may have higher debt to income ratio, then you may have to go FHA. FHA also has MI insurance that regardless of your loan to value, you have to pay. So sometimes depending on your financial needs or your credit needs, one loan can be better than the other. But for comparison purposes, if you're doing a 20% down and you have no DTI issues or credit issues, conventional loan might be one that you might want to inquire first.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do have a question. I do see some questions about being an MDCPS employee, if there's any benefits. But I also do see a great question. Do retired teachers qualify to get a loan to purchase a home? Since we're asking for 2 years of employment, once somebody is retired, what would you advise?
Well, we use the retirement income, so that's believe me, just because you're retired doesn't hinder you. It's all about is the income there to qualify, and there's a lot of ways also at looking at qualifications. Usually somebody that's retired has a lot of cash assets and cash reserves, drop program, things like that. So IRA accounts, 401k, all of that is taken into account for calculating income in addition to the actual income that's received. So I do want to I do want to encourage everyone. EdFed is a fair lender, and we are happy to help everyone. As long as you're over the legal age of 18, for any loan product that we offer, that's the state minimum age in the state of Florida, we encourage you to apply. We have a program for everyone, from consumers all the way through home loans. And that's what EdFed is all about. So we don't want you to feel discouraged in any way. And if you have some credit challenges, Ms. Reyes had mentioned, we do partner with a financial counseling nonprofit, Green Path. They've been phenomenal, and we've worked with multiple members that have had former issues, and we have programs for everyone. So you're at home, you're family with us, you're a member. Members are important to us. We're members, you're members. So we encourage you to apply, and we're happy to help you with any financial need.
So
That's great.
you don't have to be, Cindy, for that member that is inquiring, you don't have to be retired for 2 years. You could have just retired 2 months ago. You have a past history that we can verify, but retirement income is considered regardless how long you've had it. So for anyone that is currently retired or just recently retired, it is an income that we will consider at any type of loan that we provide.
Thank you, Malin. I do have some questions, and like they seem to be for you, Brian. Number one, the first one is how can we network with realtors to build that rapport and helping with the home buying process?
How to network?
Maybe it's
Well,
like where to look for a realtor, right? I know that
Sure.
many of us know realtors, but again, because we gave such great tips on finding the right fit for you, is there anywhere in specific that there is like realtor information or a networking event or something like that that you can suggest that happens maybe in Miami or in Broward, but to be able to meet and network with realtors?
well, the best way to network with a realtor is to ask your friends and family if they bought a property recently, and find out what kind of experience they had, because that's probably the best way to meet the right realtor, because your friends and family have just gone through the process, and if they are satisfied with the process, that would be a good way. That referral would be a good way to meet. Um, each county does have a board of realtors that you can look for online, and they do have networking events. You can go and meet different realtors, but I do suggest that a personal referral from a family and a friend of someone who's purchased a condo or house in the last year or two. That's probably the best way to go.
I actually agree with you. I think that is that right there and there from their experience how it went.
Yeah.
We do have another question for you. Do you think that the market in the future is going to have more inventory in the future, being in the next year, within a year?
So in the last 6 months, there is more inventory. So more people are putting their house on the market. A lot of it it's tied to financial issues in terms of, I do believe when the rates start to go down, there's going to be more buyers jumping it back into the market. At that point, you're going to have less inventory. So if right now interest rates are around 7%, if they continue to go up, I think the inventory is going to go up. But once the rates start to go down, I do think that you're going to have a lot more competition. That's why I suggest you give EdFed a call and see how you can be qualified, and at least start the process. Because right now people are afraid to actually, start looking because they think the rates are too high. But I think you should start your process now. Give EdFed a call, see how you can get qualified in the next 6 months or a year, and you'd be surprised. If you think you're not ready now, there may be only like 2 steps you need to do to get qualified. So that the first step is calling EdFed.
And that's actually a great segue into our next question. This is for home loans. That if we're not officially ready just yet, can we still come in and speak to someone to further information and assistance? 100%. Our team has just said it, come in for a personalized experience. They're going to walk you through that process, even if you're not just ready, but to prepare yourself, right? So for when you are ready. But I do have a question for home loans. With non-traditional home ownership, like tiny homes, is there financing for that through traditional lending for home ownership? For like the tiny homes type of homes?
As long as the property is owned, we can look at it, and it's attached. We don't do manufactured
Right.
homes such as mobile homes. They're usually in a park. But if it's attached to the property, we'll look at it. We'll look at all types of properties. I would encourage you to just talk to a home loans rep and let us address your scenario individually.
Okay. Great. I do have a question from a member. Their case is a little bit different. They're saying, I would ask my daughter to help me with buying. So it's going to be mother-daughter, first-time home buyer, for the daughter, but it's because I don't have the 2 years of her work and income wise. Since she makes more than me, I am more than capable of paying it. But again, she has an issue with like personal stuff with husband and immigration status, but she's wanting to see if she can apply for the Hometown Heroes. So here, Hometown Heroes, we do not offer that right now. That is something that we're, looking into. But I think that a mother-daughter can definitely, you can speak more to that. But I think that if there's two of them, and then the credit score, like you mentioned, you would take the worst, right, of the two to kind of find that perfect number. But yes.
Yeah, and Cynthia, you mentioned, I again, I wouldn't get too wrapped up in the qualifications. I would just talk to a home loans representative. You may or may not need the daughter. Once you talk to the representative and depending on your financial situation and speaking with an actual expert and taking an application, we can then answer those questions more on a one-on-one basis. There's a lot of hypotheticals there. And the main thing is that EdFed looks at every scenario, and we do the best that we can to tailor make a program to fit your needs. And we will only ask you for additional income or signers if it's needed. You may or may not even need it. So I would encourage you to talk to a home loans rep and encourage you to apply.
Great. I do have a question, from a member that's asking if EdFed collaborates with any other organizations that offer down payment assistance, such as through the Heroes program. Again, we talked about the Heroes program. We're looking into it. They're also talking about Miami-Dade County, City of North Miami. Like if we participate or collaborate with other organizations who offer any type of assistance, do we do that at this time?
We don't currently, but Maylin and I just had this conversation the other day about reaching out with some of the municipalities and all. So we'll be looking into that, and that's part of our plan as we move the credit union forward.
Okay, thank you, Michael. I do have we have so many questions, so thank you so much for staying on with us.
This is great. I think the questions are fantastic, and the interaction is amazing. We
it is
appreciate all of
phenomenal.
you on here.
It is phenomenal.
Thank you.
I do have one about foreclosure and that process. It says, can you elaborate on foreclosure home buying process, purchasing options? Again, I know we were talking about first-time home buyer and the regular home buying process, but we didn't really get into like if it's for an investment or foreclosure home buying. But I don't know if you guys want to share a little bit about that.
Okay, currently we don't offer investment financing. We are also looking at that. And that's a strategic item that we should look to implement within the next 12 months. But if you are purchasing for yourself a home that's in foreclosure, you would work with your realtor and they could answer that. But as long as, all the lien releases are there and the purchase price is negotiated and, you're qualifying, your down payment, everything that we've covered today, you can personally buy one for residential use.
Okay, I do see some questions here for the real estate agent. I will share his contact when we have finished our session. I'm going to share the home loans department information and Brian's information as well, so you can reach out to him. I have a question here from a member. How do current student loans affect your qualification when you're trying to buy a home?
I think Maylin's best to answer that with all of her experience as we talk about these every day. Go ahead, Maylin.
Yes.
Well, they affect, unfortunately, even though you can be on forbearance, there is a minimum payment requirement that we will look and take into consideration for the qualification. But if you have student loans that you're under the income reduction payment plan, we will look at that income reduction payment plan's minimum, and that is what is used to qualify for qualifying on your loan. So just because you're in forbearance, but you can be in that income reduction program, then we do not need to take the highest payment. We will go with the lowest payment that you're under.
Okay, thank you. I know we talked a lot about having the 2 years of the work history, but somebody's asking, is 6 years work experience good or bad? Like, is that, I guess, maybe the question is it enough to qualify for a loan?
Yes, we look, again, every situation is different, but you want to have at least 2 years.
Okay. And here we have a member that is asking, that they have a spouse, but they're planning to only use their credit to get qualified for the loan. Can I still claim the other income, like the spouse's income, as additional income?
If it's a joint application, yes. If it's not a joint application, no. It's whoever's just on the applying for the loan.
Okay, and I think our last question, we've gotten to all of them just in time. Do you all have a program for low-income personal that would like to become a first-time home buyer, or do you all work hand in hand in partnership with these other programs? I think we've gotten some questions. I think that was something similar to the Hometown Heroes and then the down payment assistance. But is there anything that we do currently work with?
We're working with the Federal Home Loan Bank, and we'll be implementing that first-time home buyer down payment assistance, and we should have something out by the end of the year. So that's gonna be the current program that we'll go with. And again, you can reach out to the Home Loans Department, and we can get better dates on that, and specifically look at your needs and financial situation, so that we can help direct you with even counties or municipalities.
Okay, we did get one question last in. They're asking to see if we work with Zillow. I think Zillow might be more of a realtor question. But I have here, does EdFed work with Zillow?
We don't specifically work with Zillow. I mean, if it's a Zillow agent or something, we work with our member and the buyer and an actual purchase contract. So it's, but we don't have Zillow agents on hand at this time.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for all the great feedback. The questions were incredible. I do want to go ahead and share this slide. I definitely want to make sure that you guys have all the information you need to be able to apply online. You can call us by phone or come in person. I also am sharing Mr. McCarthy's information. He's at Grandiose Real Estate, and you can reach him via email as well. So I do want to thank everybody for being on the workshop today. I think it was fantastic. I think we had some really great information. I do want to share that our next EdFed Academy webinar, a member webinar, is going to be on June 29th and is about cybersecurity, and it's going to be with our Chief Information Officer, Luis Cruz. And so we are looking forward to seeing you then. I think that's going to be another fantastic one because it really does affect all of us with so much cyber crime and cybersecurity issues with fraud. But I do want to thank everybody, all the panelists. Thank you so much for being with us today. We had a lot of great participation and questions. And that is it for today. But thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and end our show. And let me stop sharing my screen. Thank you so much for everybody. Again, we will be sharing this presentation in the coming weeks on our YouTube channel. And please come in again. You have our number. You know where we're located. Our flagship is on Kendall and 117. So if you have any questions, you can come and ask us. But thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.